Yo, hey guys, what is up? It's JJ Tech here, back again for another brand new video. And today, like I promised, I'm gonna be reviewing the brand new 2019 iPad 7th generation. Now, if you guys haven't watched my previous video, which is me unboxing this bad boy, definitely check the link out in the description box down below so you can watch that and then head on to the review. Now, before I get started, don't forget to subscribe down below, hit that like button, follow me on Instagram at JJTech123 so you can get notified every time I upload a brand new video. And another thing, I know I usually upload 2 times a week, but the reason I did not upload 2 times a week this time was because I wanted to get a good review on this iPad. Like I said, as of recording this video, it's barely going to be a week with me having this iPad. So the reason I didn't upload on Monday, which I usually upload on Monday, is because I wanted to get a more extensive review on this iPad. And also, you know how I told you guys I was going to do car stuff, car content on the channel? Well, I don't know if you just heard, but recently the brand new Ford F-150 was just announced slash revealed about a week ago at this point. And let me know in the comments down below if you guys want to see a video on that. That was actually going to be Monday's video, but I wanted to ask you guys first to see if you guys, kind of want to see a video like that. Basically talk about the specs, the interior, the engines, stuff like that. I know it's going to be a little different on the channel if I do a video like that. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you guys would like to see a video on that F-150. So yeah, with no further ado, let's actually get into the video. Alright, so I'm going to start off with the boring stuff, which is the specs on this iPad. Now, let me clarify this before we actually get into the specs. This is called the iPad 7th Gen, not the iPad Air, not the iPad Pro, literally just called the iPad 7th Gen or just iPad. I know it's a little confusing. I really don't understand why Apple didn't really just call this the iPad Air. Now, I know there is an iPad Air 3 and an iPad Air Pro, but I don't know, they could have called this the iPad 4, I don't know. But yeah, in terms of the processor, this thing has an Apple A10 chip in it. Now, before you guys start rambling about, oh, that's about a 3-year-old chip, oh, blah, 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 this thing's old and raggedy, let me get there, alright guys? And this thing also has 3 gigabytes of RAM, which doesn't sound like a lot, especially in today's modern standards, but let me explain why this thing doesn't need more than 3 gigs. And yeah, those are the main specs. Now let's get on to the camera specs. For the back-facing camera, we have an 8 megapixel sensor, and for the front, we have a puny 1.2 megapixel sensor. Yes, you heard that right, a 1.2 megapixel sensor. I know nowadays that just sounds like it's garbage, and I'm gonna be honest, it kind of is. Now back onto the A10 chip processor. I know it came out on the iPhone 7, and that phone's about 3 to 4 years old at this point. So you're probably thinking, so that means that chip is about 3 to 4 years old. And yeah, that is true. But even though this is the Apple A10 chip, it is optimized, for the iPad. So that means they did make it a little faster, and with that 3 gigabytes of RAM and Apple optimization and all those Apple updates, this thing does not feel like it has an Apple A10 processor. In fact, this thing feels like it has the newest A13 Bionic chip that is found on the iPad Pro, the iPhone 11, etc. So yeah, if you're looking to get this thing and you're probably wondering, but this thing has an Apple A10, I don't want to get it because it's a 3 to 4 year old processor. Well, guys, I'm gonna tell you, this thing does not feel slow at all. Now, in terms of the RAM, I know 3 gigabytes of RAM doesn't sound like a lot at all, but as you know, Apple usually doesn't put too much amount of memory on their iPads. I mean, even with the iPad Pros, they have 6 gigabytes of RAM, and that is double what this has. But as you know, Apple optimizes their iPads and their iPhones very, very well, and you pretty much don't need more than 3 gigs. So yeah, now that we got all the specs out of the way from this iPad, I'm gonna get into the camera specs. Now, like I said, 8 megapixel sensor on the back and a 1.2 megapixel sensor on the front. Like I said, I'm gonna be honest guys, they are pretty bad. Like I said, you definitely don't want to use this as your main, main camera, but I'm pretty sure nobody's using their iPad as your main shooter or sensor anyways. But if you are, don't recommend getting this iPad if you're looking to get it for the camera. If you want to get a good camera on an iPad, definitely recommend getting the brand new iPad Pro, but those are definitely more expensive, so at that point, honestly, just get an iPhone 11. So yeah, overall, all those specs, the camera and stuff like that, not very good, but the specs of the A10, the 3 gigabytes of RAM, those are solid, guys. I do gotta say, this thing does not feel like it has a 3 to 4-year-old processor in it. So yeah, now that we got the specs out of the way, now let's get on to my experience of this iPad. So like I said, I've owned this iPad for about a week at this point, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I've been trying to use this thing heavily to try to get a good review on for you guys. And like I said, this thing has held up good over that week. Like I said, I know a week is basically nothing. So obviously this thing has no dents or anything like that. This thing is an aluminum chassis. Yes, I just did say aluminum. It's probably pronounced aluminum, but hey, I'm gonna call it aluminum. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but you see these 3 little dots on the side of the iPad. Those are actually called Smart Connect. Now, if you guys watch my iPad Pro video that I did a couple weeks ago, you guys know that I did talk about the smart connector here on the iPad, which, as you know, the iPad Pro also has it. And basically this is made for the Apple keyboard that Apple does sell on their website. And basically you just attach the keyboard / case to it, and now you have a keyboard and trackpad attached to this iPad, which is something that comes in handy if you want to connect even third-party accessories. This thing is going to be easy to attach because of that smart connector. The next thing I want to mention is Touch ID. How has it been over the week? Has it been good? You know, since I'm used to Face ID, do I prefer Face ID over Touch ID? What do I prefer? Like I said, I've definitely gotten spoiled with Face ID on my iPhone XR. But like I said, going back to the olden days with, you know, Touch ID on this iPad, guys, I gotta say, it definitely does feel a little bit ancient. I believe this is the first generation of Touch ID, not the second gen. So because of that, it does feel just a little bit slower, but just a little bit slower. But maybe that's just because I've gotten so used to the Face ID on my iPhone XR. But yeah, overall the security, Touch ID, stuff like that, has been solid. Now the screen on this guy, the screen on this thing is absolutely insanely clear, guys. Like, this thing almost looks like an OLED panel, which, as you know, it does not have one like the iPad Pro. It does not have it. It has an LCD display like the iPhone XR and iPhone 11. But I gotta say, guys, this thing has some high resolution. Now this is a 2K display, so it is over 1080p, and you can definitely see it. Like I said, not sure if you guys can tell on the screen here on the camera, but like I said, this thing is just crystal clear. When you're watching YouTube videos, Netflix, all kinds of media, this thing, it just blows you away in terms of how crystal clear this display is. Now overall, my experience with this iPad has been pretty good, like I said, guys. In fact, it's been insanely good. Like I said, as you know, I had an iPad Air 1st gen, and as you know, that thing's basically ancient. It came out in 2013, and we did buy it when it did come out, so basically it was state of the art when we did buy it. But nowadays, that thing just feels ancient. As you know, that thing has an Apple A7 chip in it, 1 gigabyte of RAM. So compared to this thing just blows that iPad Air away in terms of speed. You know, even the camera, just everything. This thing blows that iPad Air away. And not sure if you guys can tell, but I already did purchase a screen protector for this thing, as well as a case, which I have over there. Like I said, because I definitely want this thing protected. I literally, not even kidding, right when I finished filming that video, I ordered a screen protector as well as a case for this thing, because I like to take care of my products, and this thing is probably going to be pretty fragile just because it's pretty thin. But yeah, guys, overall this iPad has been great. Like I said, 10 out of 10 on this iPad. Like I said, sadly the sale is over. The price is now back to $330 for their 32 gig. Like I said, if you did watch my previous video, when I did make that video, the sale was still going on. But as of today's video, the sale is now over. But I still think at $330 at Best Buy, as you can see here, it is still a pretty compelling iPad to get, just because compared to, you know, the iPad Pro, the iPad Air 3, this thing is just insane for the money. But yeah, guys, overall I definitely recommend this iPad. I will drop the link to this iPad in the description box down below if you guys would like to purchase it yourselves. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for today's video. Don't forget to subscribe down below, like the video, and also comment down below, like I said, if you guys would like to see a Ford F-150, you know, kind of impressions video, talk about the interior, the engine, in terms of the styling, overall, just stuff like that. Let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, guys, that pretty much wraps up today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.